Hi, I'm Chris Sachs. I'm the Vice President of Client Success at SEO Clarity, and today I'm super fortunate to have a chance to talk with Ryan D'Souza. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, of course. I've known Ryan now for, well, over a year, and this is a really smart SEO. So we were lucky to have him join us today and tell us a little bit about SEO and some thoughts he has in general. So, but maybe Ryan, to get started, you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. On the personal side, I was born in India. I was raised in the Middle East. And then I eventually moved to the US, do my high school and my college. I've been doing SEO for 10, 12 years now, and I love it. I enjoy it. I'm also a youth sports fan. I love basketball, tennis, and outside of that, in terms of just things I like to do, I enjoy playing poker. That's something I find fun. And then I also really like astronomy. So that's about a little bit about me in a nutshell.
A lot of different interests. I also play poker too, so I'm going to remember that. Be interested in challenging you one day and see how we do together.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So, one thing I like to ask too, which I think is really interesting, is how did you get into SEO? What was it? Not everybody seeks out, I'm going to be an SEO when I grow up. So, how did you get into the industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I graduated in '07, '08, around that time. My initial degree was finance. The goal was to be an investment banker. That's what I sought out to be. Unfortunately, it also happened to be a time where our economy wasn't doing as well. We had the whole subprime lending crisis, and to add to that, I didn't really have the type of experience in investment banking. So I had two choices. One was I could continue to gain more education along finance, try to get a master's, build on that, and hope that maybe in 2, 3 years I could launch a career, or I could pivot to a related area, right? And so I pivoted to digital marketing, and the reason I did that is because during my college days, during summertime, I was lazy. I don't want to be the type of guy who goes and washes dishes or paint homes in terms of like additional income streams, or summer jobs. I wanted to be the guy who could just lays at home and make money online, right? So what I did was initially I really subscribed to those sleazy pyramid scheme models that you would see in the early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and I got burned on a few. Spend a couple $100 to try to learn what it would be like to make money online, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And a lot of them ended up being pyramid schemes. But I didn't give up there. I realized there's some truth to it. And the truth is that with the right type of marketing and the right kind of product, there's a pathway. And so that's when I decided to sort of self-teach myself SEO. At the time, paid AdWords was a very new product as well. So I used free credits actually on the PPC side to do some testing. Yeah. And I went to ClickBank and Commission Junction. I started to find products basically that had high affiliate commission. A lot of them were ebooks essentially. Yeah. And I started to then, build some sites, self-teaching myself, HTML, CSS, some JavaScript, and then create content around these affiliate products, and then use SEO to rank them and then drive commission. I received I had some success doing that. And so when I didn't get a job out of college, I went straight to that. And I said, why don't I continue to extend that business or that practice that I started in college? And I did that for a few years. Yeah. And I was doing fairly well. So that's how really I got into SEO. Was really affiliate marketing was sort of my segue as a way to generate income.
Yeah, I know a couple of people I work with have done the affiliate game. I do feel like that is a great entryway into SEO, because oftentimes small affiliates, they don't have ad dollars, right? So SEO is how you're going to get that traffic. That's really cool. Now I know, Ryan, you've worked with big enterprise, and SEO at a big enterprise can be quite challenging. But I also know that you've had a lot of success. So maybe you could just tell us about, what would you see as one of your biggest SEO achievements that you've had in your career?
Yeah, I would say the I really want to say two because I'm debating between which one I like better. However, the one that sticks out is my time at a financial services startup called Avant Credit, now known as Avant. At the time, fintech was huge. It still is. It's a popular space, and the company wanted to establish itself as a leader in the personal loans category. And that was a brutally competitive space. Not only did you have a lot of aggregators that were fairly established, the NerdWallets, the lending trees of the world, but you also had major banks, Wells Fargo and Capital One, that were looking to basically steal market share, right? They wanted to enter it in a more digital way, meaning sell personal loans online. So the goals were fairly challenging from an SEO perspective. The expectation was to come in, help the company essentially have page one visibility for all core terms within their loan categories. So that would be personal loans, installment loans, debt consolidation loans, online loans, unsecured loans, et cetera, et cetera. And quite frankly, I didn't know if it was possible given the competition that we were up against. So I developed a strategy that was highly aggressive on the content and link building side. And the reason it was that way is primarily because in that space, similar to perhaps maybe insurance or even casinos, as part of that SEO ecosphere, a lot of the competitor strategies involved content creation that was more educational in nature and very aggressive link building. And so that's what we did. We essentially built out a blog on Avant.com. We started to develop a lot of educational type content, a lot of how-tos, and we started to work with a lot of different publishers, niche authoritative publishers, and also big tier one publishers. And we started to have a link building strategy to accompany that content creation process. Within about a year or so from when we launched our content and link building strategies, we had page one visibility for essentially all those terms. And I still remember the day. It was April 18, 2016. I came in the office, I opened my SEO dashboard, and everything was in the green. Literally all those terms were on page one. It almost happened, it happened over a period of a year, but it felt like that shift to page one all happened overnight, if you will. So I would say that was the biggest accomplishment because it led to a surge in incremental loans. And so from a KPI perspective, in terms of revenue generation, that was huge.
Yeah, that is a great achievement. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of companies that are in the finance space, banking space, and there's so many regulations and restrictions you have just from governmental restrictions about what you can say and security and things like that. So it is very difficult for an SEO to be able to really put programs in place that have a lot of success. And if you're getting things turned on overnight, that was really great. So congrats on that. Okay, so I have another question for you, and I'm going to challenge you on this one a little bit too. So the question is, in your opinion, for enterprise SEOs, what's the biggest challenge they're facing right now? And before you give an explanation, I want you to initially answer it with one word. So if you had one word to say, what is the biggest challenge that an enterprise SEO faces, what would it be?
I'd say education.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'd say education. I'd say helping stakeholders, particularly upper management and other cross-functional teams, really understand the value of SEO. What is SEO? How it contributes to the organizational goals. I think a lot of organizations understand the importance from SEO in terms of contribution to digital revenue, right? When they look at their analytics, they look at that percentage and they say, okay, it's pretty big. They also understand that the cliche quote unquote SEO is free. Not really, but let's say that. So they see the value across those two lenses, if you will, that it's a low cost kind of channel, and that its contribution to revenue can be pretty big. But they don't understand its importance in terms of adoption from a processes standpoint and an operational standpoint. And I think just educating stakeholders that SEOs really need to be involved in planning processes across different teams earlier rather than later, and that they need to be enabled from a decision-making standpoint, and should be looked at more as product managers, if you will, to help drive business. So I think education is key and critical, and I think a lot of enterprise SEOs struggle with that, even in very established organizations, because of how it's viewed, right? It's typically a type of a role that tends to be a little bit siloed, sitting in a corner, essentially, writing recommendations and sending it to IT or a few teams, once a week or twice a week, but it's not viewed for what it can be in terms of its depth and its breadth, if you will.
I think that's great. It's really incredible advice to give, especially people who are new to the SEO industry. Being really great at educating up is going to really be a great path to success, I think. And also being disciplined and educating yourself, because you can't just go get degrees in SEO, right? It's a community knowledge sharing career path. So I totally agree with you on that one. All right, another quick hit question, and it's a two-parter. What excites you when it comes to SEO, and what just frustrates you? And maybe it's the same thing, but I'm interested in seeing what your thoughts are. What's exciting to you about SEO, and what's frustrating?
Yeah. The ability to build complementary skill sets is what excites me the most about SEO, because you can't necessarily pin it to any one particular area, right? It is truly the glue, in a sense, that allows you to interface with multiple teams and build those complementary skill sets. So the versatility, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, that I really enjoy about SEO. If you decide later down the road that you want to specialize within SEO and be more of a creative in that sense, you could continue to build skill sets in content marketing and digital PR, and you can sort of expand in that area, right? If you decide that the technical aspect is what you enjoy, then you can start to specialize a little bit more in UX, A/B testing, conversion optimization, web development, and so on and so forth. You like the analytics route, then you can actually be a part of what today you see Uber and a lot of the big companies do, which is build intelligence teams, literally data science and intelligence teams around SEO. So you have that fluidity and versatility to really kind of stretch your skill set across so many different cross-functional areas, and you're not pinned to a particular science or a particular art form that way. And so the creativity and versatility of SEO is what excites me the most. And of course, the ever-evolving landscape as well, in terms of new formats and new feature releases, etc.
Yeah, I really like that answer. Anything frustrating you about it at all?
Yeah, the lack of control. I think, the inability to necessarily control all factors in a way that you perhaps could with other channels, right? I think when you're looking at, paid search, for example, I think there's a lot more to your control. But I think when you're looking at SEO, tomorrow you can launch a very successful campaign in terms of doing all the right things from a checklist perspective, and there's no guarantee you're going to see results. And so I think the lack of control to directly influence KPIs is what frustrates me the most about SEO.
Yeah, I love that answer. That it really hits home. I totally get that. Totally understand. All right. Well, my last question for you, Ryan, just switching gears a little bit. Inquiring minds are always wanting to know, what's the last good book you've read?
Yeah. You know, the last book I read that really inspired me is a book called The Surrender Experiment. I forget the author. It might be Mike. Yeah, I forget the author. I'll have to double check, but it's called The Surrender Experiment. I believe it was a New York bestseller. I particularly enjoy this book because it's about a guy who essentially wanted to do nothing but essentially meditation in the woods. Wanted to cut himself from the world and go to the woods and have a little cabin, do meditation 3-4 times a day, and that's it. And that individual ended up really shifting from that to being the CEO of a massive corporation with lots of responsibilities and so on and so forth. So following that journey, I think really inspired me, because what I took from that is, if you're just open-minded and if you're humble and if you're trusting of life, then I think, your potential can be achieved so much easier that way with that kind of attitude. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to check that book out. All right, well, thanks so much, Ryan. We appreciate your time today, and some really great insights came out of this interview. So I can't thank you enough. And I hope all the best, and let's keep as much control as we possibly can going forward over our SEO. So thanks again, Ryan.
Yeah, good talking to you as well, Chris. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.